Hey, this video is for students who are in an ERPsim course, which utilizes my third edition of my textbook, this textbook here, but you're using it sometime fall 2020 or after. So within this video, I'm going to talk about briefly about the ERPsim fall 2020 release, and then give you some of the adjustments to the textbook that you'll want to be aware of. So just so you know, the simulation has changed. If you've never used it before, you don't know what it was like before, but your instructor is having a different time with it. The strategy, parameters, those things haven't changed, but the back end has changed. How we as instructors set it up has changed. Again, you don't need to know the details, but some general knowledge is helpful. Really, be patient with your instructor. There are a lot of moving parts with ERPsim, and this is a new way of thinking. I have been using ERPsim in the classroom since 2012. I'm on top of these things. I have a textbook, and it still has me rethinking my approach. So enough has changed that it's on the back end. So just be patient with your instructor moving forward. Your instructor has two different options, three options for the third edition of the SAP Labs, making them work in fall 2020. One is to use the standard company set, which is going to show you, and if you haven't looked at the textbook yet, you might not know what this means, but the standard company set is set 1, and it's $. This is the way ERPsim has been for years. Since I started using it, this is how it's been. The main difference between the textbook and the labs, and using this company set here, this set 1, is the user ID. The user ID has changed. The textbook references that the user ID is $, so it's a letter and a number. This is that letter twice. I'll actually show you this here in a moment, but just so you know, the new user ID is $_pound if you're using the standard company set, so the actual letters. Within the fall 2020 release, there's also a whole new set of companies specifically for exercises. So things like the SAP Labs within my textbook. So same as the standard company set, there's a new user ID, the textbook references are off a little bit, but it's completely different company codes. So if your instructor has assigned using these exercises, you're going to need to be making changes throughout. So as the textbook is making reference to, as an example, this $, you're going to be using a totally different company set. So it's pound, 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 it's number, number, number. So very different between these two. Every single one has some differences, and the reason why I'm saying it's 2, kind of 3, is that there are also different sets. Now I'm going to jump into the textbook here, and if you were to turn to page 11 of the textbook, you would see this. And here we are. We have an example of how the information will be passed along from your instructor to you. So your group number, and that's something your instructor sets, and then your company letter. Now, company letter is important, maybe, but not as important as it used to be, because they've kind of changed the way company codes work, and I'll explain that in a moment. Your ERPsim ID, here it is right here in the textbook, saying your sim ID is going to be essentially this $, and then something. So A3, A2, A4, it's now A_, and then that number. Your product, and this may end up being confusing. The product is $F0 and then a number, and these are the different materials that you could be producing as part of these labs. That actually has stayed the same, unless you're using those exercises. And the exercises end up being numbers, so it matches your company number. Lots of things have changed within this. And you can see that within this paragraph, it's making reference to, if it's company letter A, that means that it's A. If you see $, that means company AA, or your company letter twice. Again, that's only going to end up being the case if you are using the company set 1, which will follow the screenshots and everything within the textbook. But if your instructor has set you up to use company sets 2 through 9, it's now $pound, $number, and the company code is $number. The exercises, it's number, 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 pound, 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 company code. I should say hashtag for you guys, shouldn't I? Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. That tells you what your age is. Is it pound? Is it whatever? So here we go. Company code ends up being totally different if you're using the exercises. There's a new T code, which again, if you're new to this, you don't know that they didn't used to be there, but it's called Z-org. And if you are logged in, so here I am, I'm logged in as one of the exercises, and I'm under exercise company code 200, and each one of these has 5 different logons for the company code. So I'm in the 5th. So there's EX200_1 through 5. The exercises are somewhere. It's EX001 through EX200. And then there's the underscore there. Now, if you have no ideas, you're going through the textbook and you see references to things like the company letter, and there's one in here, jumping forward a little bit. When you type in the company code and you are looking at what happens, it's going to tell you, hey, the company code is going to pop up. So here's one. When you put in CS12 in this login area here, when you put that in, it says that the cursor is going to default. The plant appears automatically, your company letter twice. And in the examples within the book, it's ZZ. That is not the case anymore. And what you'll want to do if you're trying to keep up with all this is you could use zorg, and it'll tell you whatever it is that you are logged on as. This is your company code. This is your plant. This is your sales organization. This is your purchase organization. All of that information is provided for you, and this is user specific, so you always know what those things are. If you can't get it to work, you're not sure what's going on with it, just pop into zorg, and it'll tell you. And there are a few of these within these exercises where it says, sales organization appears automatically, your company letter twice. And there's only one scenario in which that can be possible, and that's if your instructor decides to use set 1. If they're using anything else, it's going to be different from what it's saying and what the screenshots are showing. I know, a little confusing, sorry. No easy way around that except for posting a video like this so that you're aware of it. So here we go. You can see the different ways that the company code can look, and if you look at zorg, you'll be able to find out what yours actually is. Regardless of which company code or company set or how you're going about it, how your instructor decided to go about it, some screenshots look a little bit different. So the fall 2020 release is on a whole new SAP S/4HANA server, and the views have changed a little bit. So I want to show you, I'm going to take you to page 57 in the textbook, and you will see that it says available to promise here. And it says, if you do not see the above, well, something's wrong. Oh. So with the changes, I'm going to go into that transaction and actually show you what happens with it. So the material codes are also a little different within this. So, I'm going to guess if you're watching this, you're not familiar with it, but they used to be the company letter, so AA or A1, A2, whatever. Now in the exercises, it's 200-F01. Lots of little changes. The processes are the same, the transactions are the same, but a lot of these little things are different. So this is what you're supposed to be looking at the book and saying, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. Here's a screenshot showing you what it's supposed to look like, and this is what you're actually seeing in this new server. So these numbers are a little different over here. If you aren't aware of the fact that the server has changed, you might look at this and say, something's wrong. This is the danger of having a print document for technology that's ever changing. So just realize that some of the screenshots within the textbook are different. You're going to have to improvise with this as you're working through it. If you can get to the next step, then it probably worked correctly. My previous experience with these labs, as these kinds of changes have come through, is the questions tend to be up front, where people are saying things like, how do I log on? Where's my user ID? Or why isn't ZZF06 working? So this is within the screenshot. It says ZZ-F06. Well, yours will be whatever your instructor has assigned to you. Don't follow the screenshots. And once you get past some of those where you're working through this, certainly by the time you get to lab 2, you kind of get used to it. But just be ready for the differences in the screenshots. Now, another big piece that has changed within the fall 2020 release is OData, which you may or may not be using. My classes use this. But there are many points within the textbook where it says you need to use the OData specific username and password. This is not your ERPsim user ID. Well, it is now. So the instructions within this, you're going to have to improvise a little bit. Within my classes, I'm going to actually post the data, the documents from ERPsim for OData. So realize that there's just a different way of approaching it, but then once you get the data, it ends up being the same. Do realize that the data your instructor has set up for you, it could be anything from company set 1 through company set 9, so $$ through $9. It could be one company set, it could be all of them. If you have more than one company set, you need to filter for it. That is not something that's included within the textbook. That wasn't available before. You only got, well, you had to log on specifically to a client and a company code. Now you have access potentially to all of them. If you have questions about some of these differences, talk to your instructor immediately. Don't wait. And if you happen to find this video and your instructor may not know this, that's fine. Be kind, be patient. I do have a video for instructors, so if you want to go to my YouTube channel, you can see that there is one for instructors, letting them know the differences, and be prepared to improvise. So again, when you're doing the labs, that zorg T code is going to be very helpful for you. So, well, there we go. If you have any questions, again, talk to your instructor. If I'm your instructor, let me know. And we'll get through this. The next version of the textbook will include all of these updates.